Alright guys, so put some more Bondo on there and broke out the 40 grit and got it this thing here and got it pretty dang level. It's still not perfect, but you know, don't have to be perfection. And I still got to sand a little bit more. I'm going to go up to probably 60 first and then 220, and then we'll see about spot putty after that. But what I'm going to do right now is show you how to get this old plastic visor out of here. What I do is I use my my Dremel tool here, and I got a cutting wheel on it. And this is the same tool that I used to do all these detail lines here. I cut those into the Bondo, so I got to clean up some of those as well. But I won't show you that. You know, it's just pretty self-explanatory. Just, you know, cut along the line. Don't go too deep. But for the visor, you're just going to want to cut, you know, obviously all around where the visor attaches to the helmet. And if you don't have a Dremel tool, one thing I can suggest is to drill a hole in like one of the corners, and then take a thin hacksaw blade, and if you have the little handle that to where you can hold just the blade itself and not like all the metal rigging and everything, then you can stick it in the hole you drilled and kind of saw it out. Or if you don't have one of the handle things, just take a hacksaw blade and wrap some duct tape around it, and then you can do the same thing. That's a lot of work, and that's why I use the Dremel tool. Now this one was a pretty cheap one, so you know, I'm sure they're around for, you know, fairly cheap, and it's a really good tool to have. So that's what I'm going to use. So I'm going to get my dust mask here so I don't breathe in all the plastic and Bondo and everything. And I also want to get my goggles here, which are even more important. So put my goggles on. I look pretty crazy right now, but that's alright. So now I'm just going to go ahead and cut out this here. Alright, so there we have the cuts. So I had a little trouble going really close to the edge of the visor here because of the way this helmet's shaped. Some of them are harder to do than others. And I thought of something else, another technique you could use to get this out. You could just drill a bunch of holes around the edges and then try to pop it out. Or take some dikes and cut in between the holes that you drilled, and that might be able to get it out. So now you can just pop it out, and there you got your visor. You can save that and use that to kind of a template, but this one's kind of tore up. Most of the time they will be when you get them out. So we'll set that aside, and there's your helmet. I'm going to have to clean up the edges quite a bit, which I can do with sandpaper, and see right there, I just broke that whole piece off. That's good. So you just got to clean it up with sandpaper, and so I'll come back in a little bit once I have that cleaned up, and I do some more sanding on here, and we'll talk about spot putting. Alright, so I've sanded with 60 grit, and then I went up to 220, so it's pretty smooth right now. It's still got, you know, imperfections in the Bondo, which we can fix with spot putty, and I'm probably going to leave a few to look like battle damage as well. I also cleaned up the edge on the inside where the visor goes, cleaned up all my lines with my Dremel tool, and cleaned up the outside edge here. So I think it's pretty much ready for spot putty. So have a little bit here. And this is the point in the process where I would usually go ahead and spray a coat of primer, spray paint on here, but I don't have any, so I'm just going to go right ahead to spot putty. So, just going to squeeze a little bit out into the areas that I want to get covered up. And then take my squeegee and just like Bondo, just squeeze it on there, spread it on there real thin. Spot putty, you have to use it for only the smallest imperfections because you can't put it on thick at all, or else it'll just peel up and come up when you try to sand it. So you have to put it on there thin, and it can only be for small stuff. Use Bondo for all the other things. A lot of people have asked me that. So, and you try to only spread it across the same area once or twice, because if you do that too much, it'll start to peel up as well. So, it's pretty good back here. I'm going to spread a little bit right there. Back here. Some up here on the forehead, or whatever you call this area up here. Get a big dip right there, kind of a bubble. Ooh, that's a hole. Okay. Well, gonna have to fix that. Didn't see that one. Put some up here on the chin, and maybe over here on this cheek area. And you can use your finger to spread this stuff too, but you can't get it as smooth unless you use the squeegee. So that's why I use the squeegee most of the time. I use my finger sometimes in tight spots like that, and just kind of rub it all around on there. Because most of the spot putty gets sanded back off anyways once you wet sand it, which we will be doing. I will be doing after this. And after I fix that hole up here. So that looks pretty good to me. There may be a few more areas I might add some, but I'll let that cure up a little bit and go ahead and wet sand it. I'm not going to show the wet sanding because I have a good video on that on my channel. So you're just going to start out with 220 grit sandpaper, and then go to 4, and then go to 6, and then if you want to, you can go to 1,000, but you don't really have to. And you should be ready for paint after that.